What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, continuing my deep dive into Neil Young's studio catalog and other catalog. But today, back on sort of the main discography, the main road, we're with Hawks and Doves. His 11th studio album came out in 1980. This is pretty much the first album other than Journey Through the Past, the soundtrack album, which I'm like, okay, Neil really is human and can make bad albums. This is not a very good album. Um, in fact, at times it's a little disturbing if you're a hardcore Neil fan and you've been kind of following his trajectory up to this point. Not necessarily musically. Musically, he's kind of there's a folky side. There's a double down on the countryside. The doubling down on the countryside musically isn't that inspiring, but it's not like a complete out of nowhere like turn. Lyrically, there are some things on here that are like, whoa, okay, we're there all of a sudden. Something must have been in the water in the late 70s, early 80s, because a lot of artists had this weird little shift that occurred. Dylan found his new religion. And Neil looks like he's finding a new religion called patriotism, as we find out at the end of this album. But I think backstory actually must be considered when considering this album, because in, I guess, late 78, early 79, his son was born who had cerebral palsy. Neil was in a position to get as much good treatment for his son as possible. And apparently this was a period in his life when he was spending like more than half his waking hours helping, or taking his son to the doctor, helping his son, get appropriate treatment, learn to live with, having cerebral palsy. And it was hidden from the public. I read somewhere that Neil did not want this information out. He didn't want that to become the story for the album, that to become the story as him as a musical artist. So at this point in time, it was something that he was very secretive about. And then this album comes out. It's less than 30 minutes long. It's like 29 minutes and something. The entire first half of the album is material that had been recorded in other sessions, the homegrown sessions, an early Comes a Time album, Ocean Slide / Countryside. One of the tracks comes from those sessions. One of them was from the Hitchhiker sessions in 76. That's side A. So it was material that had been lying around, had already existed. The better stuff on this album when we get down to it. And then the other side was less than 14 minutes of this country music, each song less than 3 minutes long, that were just like, I don't know, who knows how long it took to record these. So to say that the album is underwhelming would be an understatement. But as far as the length of the album, the sort of half-assed nature of the album, the culling material that been around, it makes sense. He was probably under some obligation to put material out. He obviously wasn't in a position in his personal life. He wasn't processing what was going on. He wasn't writing songs about it. He wasn't able to like channel his struggles through his art as he had done so successfully in the 70s. So as a result, we get this really strange mix of songs. Hawks and Doves. Side A is the Dove side, the peaceful side, shall we say. Mostly acoustic, mostly solo Neil. I think one song, the best song on the album, the best song on this side, The Old Homestead, has like an actual band, drumming on bass, Livon Helm on drums, Tom Scribner playing the saw, apparently. And then the other two tracks, I think, are Neil with just overdubbing himself with like a little percussion, maybe another guitar. Opens up with Little Wing, just a really chill, laid back, absolutely beautiful opener. Just really nice, soft, understated entry into this album. Brilliant. Recorded during the homegrown sessions, as was The Old Homestead. The next song, sort of the magnus opus of the album, 7.5 minutes long. Weird, funky little vibe, this nice plucky walk-in acoustic vibe. Seems like the song's about to fall apart, like after every set of lyrics, and then it kind of starts over and re-goes, builds up. Apparently, the lyrics are about refer to his time with Crosby, Stills and Nash and the troubles they were having, and a lot of really Neil taking images from just different things that don't seem like they belong. A lot of bird imagery. You get a reference to like a naked rider, which maybe that's him. Prehistoric bird. There's a telephone booth. He's trying to make a call, but all these birds are going all over the place. It's a kind of a mysterious song. It's got a mysterious vibe. It's utterly compelling. It's an absolutely fantastic listen. Like the opening of this album, Little Wing, The Old Homestead, highly promising. Things are looking great. Lost in Space from the Oceanside Countryside Sessions, which is like an early Comes a Time. Um, okay, kind of guitar voice kind of thing about being with somebody and being lost in space, like a chill folk rock. This weird little musical breakdown thing in the middle that for some it just doesn't work. Not a horrible song, but better than almost everything on side B, and but not a bad song. And then the plucky Captain Kennedy, which is about a real captain who his boat got sunk by a German U-boat in World War II. He wasn't a soldier; he was like a trader. Neil Young had met him. Plunky little song that sounds like a seafaring ditty. The way the guitar, the music fits perfectly. The fact that this is about someone who a sailor, and that's side A. These four songs. About 15 minutes of music. Old Homestead, absolutely fantastic. Little Wing, great opener. Lost in Space, and then Captain Kennedy, just like a plucky little fun number. That's by far the strong side of the album. Those, I think, are by far the four best songs on the album. Side B, it's like 14 minutes of music, all really country. Stay in Power. First two songs, Stay in Power and Coastline, are just kind of optimistic, positive love songs. Like, he's now in love. He's going to write love songs. Really, we got Stay in Power, straightforward kind of country pop type stuff. Can't say it's really that too inspired. Feels good, sounds good. I mean, as far as the energy, but nothing too memorable. Then we get Union Man, which isn't embracing the unions. I pay my dues, but I'm the last one to get my benefits. He's coming out as anti-union here. There is a neat little part about somebody's yelling something in the distance of the recording, and then Neil's like, "What is that you said?" And the guy yells it again, and it's live music is better. Bumper stickers should be ordered. Kind of like that. Like, I agree, live music is better. Bumper stickers should be ordered. But I'm not really sure what that has to do with a Union Man, but it's a fun part of the song. Then we get Coming Apart at Every Nail, in which he kind of is going on a Springsteen bent, looking at America and kind of expressing the woes of the working man. Only he seems to be attacking America pretty hard. Like the line Coming Apart at Every Nail as he's like looking at America. But the country looks good, but the fences are coming apart at every nail. So you're like, there's a sheen to it, but you look underneath and we're starting to fall apart and rot. So a little critical of America. But then the next song, Hawks and Doves, he's chanting USA, USA, in a weird little, maybe jingoistic type song. Is he serious? What's going on? He's this very conservative last three songs. It's just a weird vibe. It seems I talk about in the Comes a Time video when I made that a couple weeks ago, how that seemed to be an acceptance that the hippie dream, the hippie ideals of the 60s, the things he kind of eschewed through his music, they were failing. They had died out. The dream hadn't really become the dream, right? And there seemed to be this acceptance of this in Comes a Time. And then Rust Never Sleep, I don't know, kind of really doesn't address it that much. Maybe Welfare Mothers, but not really. That's just kind of a fun song. And then here, all of a sudden, we're Reagan conservatism in 1980. Interesting little three-song thing that just don't know what to make of it. It's kind of head-scratching. The Hawks and Doves song, the verses have kind of a cool melody, but the guitar is like aggressively country twangy in a way that seems purposeful, meant to like, this is how patriotic I am, twang, twang, guitar, country twang. Yeah, I don't like these last three songs. In fact, I think the whole second side of this album is pretty forgettable. Though that Union Man chant about live music is better, bumper sticker should be ordered. I don't know, that's kind of cool. But yeah, it's a rough listen. This was his first, I mean, pretty impressive. We're a decade plus into a career, and you've had a couple live albums. You've made a soundtrack album that really wasn't that good, but you've pretty much made a bunch of masterpieces. Finally, there's a misstep. It's a big misstep after maybe one of his most important albums, Rust Never Sleeps. We know what the 80s has coming, so we know he doesn't recover immediately. But it's a misstep. Where would I rank the album? The album I have ranked second to last. I think it's easily the worst thing, other than Journey Through the Past, just because side A on this is pretty good, but it's not as good as his debut. His debut has a couple just absolutely fascinating, almost like sound-defining tracks on it. This one doesn't. Really one, The Old Homestead and Little Wing. Those two songs are the ones I think kind of must be heard. Everything else on this is forgettable. If I had to rank the songs themselves, Old Homestead, Little Wing, clearly the top two. Side A, top four songs. It's the better side. And then Coastline, Stay in Power, the upbeat country love songs. Union Man because of that silliness. And then those last two are they're rough listens. It's short, 29 plus minutes, so you get it over with quickly. Get to rip the Band-Aid right off. But yeah, he takes a misstep. Yeah, so we'll see what happens next as we move on through the 80s, a decade that has not been very, very kind to artists that started in the 60s. Can I think of an artist that started in the 60s that had a great 80s from start to finish? I don't think. Maybe Tom Waits? Maybe? That's the closest we get to a solid 80s, right? No major missteps. He did start in the 70s and not the 60s, though. So, but anyways, that's a whole other video. I'm done. Thanks for watching. Peace. Talk to you later.